Title: His GPS said he never left, but he vanished anyway. Discovery: There is a trail just outside the small town of Redwater, Minnesota that locals used to call the easiest hike in the county. A short loop, wide paths, clear signage, no cliffs, no predators. A place where families took photos in the fall when the leaves turned gold. It was considered safe, which is why the disappearance of 29-year-old land surveyor Evan Callow shook the town so deeply. Not because disappearances never happen, but because this one didn't make sense. The evidence didn't align with reality. The timeline didn't break. And the digital data that should have solved the case only made it harder to understand. On October 4, 2021, Evan told his sister he'd be gone for 2 or 3 hours, max. He planned to walk the Larch Pine Reserve Loop to check seasonal erosion patterns for a municipal zoning project. It was routine work, something he had done dozens of times before. He left home at 8:14 a.m., driving his aging gray Subaru Outback. He waved to his neighbor. He stopped for gas. He bought a granola bar and a small thermos of coffee. Every step of his morning was recorded, witnessed, and completely ordinary. He was seen entering the trail at 9:06 a.m. by 2 different people. He signed the registry log. He crossed the small wooden footbridge. And then he walked forward into the trees. That was the last time anyone saw him. The routine search that turned into something else. When Evan didn't return home by 2 p.m., his sister, Marissa, wasn't alarmed at first. Evan often underestimated time when he was out in nature. But when 5 p.m. arrived, with no text, no call, no car returning, she drove to the reserve herself. Evan's car was still there. The driver's door locked. His wallet in the console. His keys missing, which meant he was still somewhere on the trail. Marissa called the sheriff's department at 6:41 p.m. By 7:15, deputies and park rangers had begun the search. Searches like this follow a predictable pattern. You start with the trail. Then you widen your radius. Then you widen again. In most missing hiker cases, there is a direction: footprints, snapped branches, fabric caught on bark, a place where the person left the path. There was none of that here. The trail showed no disruption. No sudden turnoffs. No sign that Evan ever left the designated loop. The forest was still, almost undisturbed, as if nothing had happened at all. The first break in the case. Just after sunrise on October 5th, Search Team A found something. It wasn't a body. It wasn't even a clue in the traditional sense. It was Evan's phone, placed neatly on a downed tree trunk, like someone had set it there at waist height. Not dropped. Not lost. Arranged. The screen was dark but intact. No damage. No dirt. No cracks. They initially assumed he set the phone down while resting, then walked deeper in. That assumption ended the moment they found the backpack. It was just 10 yards away, propped upright against a pine tree. Not tossed. Not snagged. Positioned. Like someone had taken deliberate care to leave it visible. Inside was everything Evan packed that morning. Water bottle full. Folded jacket. First aid kit. Trail notebook. Protein bar. Handheld GPS tracker. The GPS device was the key. If they could pull the coordinates, they could retrace Evan's exact steps. So they powered it on. The device synced automatically. And then the confusion began. The data that changes the case. The GPS route displayed one continuous line. A perfect, uninterrupted trace of Evan walking along the main trail at a slow and steady pace, exactly as he always did during surveys. There were no deviations. No sudden turns. No off-trail movement. According to the tracker, Evan entered the trail, walked its length, followed the expected loop direction, and never once left the marked path. But the line didn't stop at a location. It didn't show him turning around. It didn't show him reaching the trail's exit. The recording simply ended in the middle of the loop, at a random point surrounded by open, walkable forest, a place that was searched dozens of times. According to the data, Evan was still standing on the trail when the tracking signal stopped. Just there, motionless, present, and yet he wasn't. Sheriff Probst said later in a press briefing. Search teams walked directly through that location multiple times. There was no body. No clothing. No prints. No disturbance. Nothing. According to the evidence, he was right there. And we still don't know how he wasn't. Because you can lose track of a person. You can fail to follow footprints. You can miss evidence in brush. But you cannot lose someone who never left the trail. Unless something else happened. Something the data couldn't explain. Something no map could trace. Something that didn't follow how the world is supposed to work. Escalation. The discovery of the GPS data should have helped the search teams. It should have narrowed the radius. It should have given them a clear final location to work from. Instead, it did the opposite. Because the coordinates didn't show a direction of exit, only a moment of disappearance. The exact final data point was a straight section of trail bordered by low ferns and soft pine needles. The kind of terrain that leaves footprints easily, holds impressions, and makes tracking straightforward. Except there were no footprints. Not Evan's. Not animals. Not even the search teams, though they had crossed that exact spot multiple times. Which meant either the trail had reset itself, or the GPS was telling the truth. Evan was there, and then he wasn't. The park ranger's observation. One of the first people to comment on the strangeness was Ranger Emily Carver, who had been working the reserve for 12 years. During a recorded interview, she said, "It wasn't the silence that bothered me. It was what the silence wasn't. The trail sounded wrong. No insects, no birds, no chipmunks, not even wind in the needles. Like the woods were waiting for something." She paused. Or listening. Search coordinator notes confirm multiple volunteers remarked on the absence of wildlife. No calls. No rustling. No movement in the canopy. Just stillness. The kind that feels intentional. The phone recording. The real shift in the investigation came when digital forensics extracted an automatic audio log from Evan's Trail app, a feature designed to record environmental sound for survey documentation. The recording is 18 minutes long. The first half is uneventful. Evan walking, gravel under boots, steady breathing, wind passing between trees, notes spoken quietly to himself. But at 11 minutes, something changes. It begins with a pause. Not sudden, just the slowing of steps. The sound of someone realizing something is off. Then Evan says softly, "Hold on." A few seconds pass. But did someone say something? There is no other voice audible on the recording. He waits, listens, then begins walking again. Slower, footsteps more cautious now. At 13 minutes, 22 seconds, he speaks again, voice more certain. "Hey, if you need help, just say something. I'm right here." Still, the recording captures no reply. But Evan clearly hears something we do not. His voice changes, softer, almost coaxing. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." He sounds like someone speaking to a frightened hiker, or a child, or someone standing just out of view. Except the microphone picks up no second person, no snapping branches, no footsteps, no breath besides Evan's, just forest stillness. Then, at 14 minutes, 58 seconds, it happens. A whisper, right beside the microphone. Sure, so close. Human, but not Evan. Evan. The recording captures him inhale sharply, not in fear, but recognition. Because he responds instantly, "I see you." Those words would become the core of the case. Who did he think he was seeing? Why did he sound relieved, not afraid? Investigators brought in audio engineers to analyze the whisper. Their conclusion: the whisper is spoken by a voice physically near the microphone. The vocal profile does not match Evan's in pitch, resonance, or articulation. The whisper seems to come from someone at close proximity, facing him. But there were no footprints. No second person recorded entering the reserve. No missing persons matching the vocal profile. But the recording wasn't finished. At 16 minutes and 9 seconds, Evan says something quietly, almost like he's responding to a direction. "I'm coming." Then his footsteps pick up pace. Not running, not frightened, purposeful. He is following someone. Someone the microphone does not detect. The forest remains silent, almost staged. Then, mid-step, the recording cuts out. Not stops. Not pauses. Not powers down. It just ends. As if the device was removed from existence along with the man carrying it. The psychological analysis. A consulting psychologist reviewed the audio and concluded, there is no sign of panic in his voice. No confusion. No hallucination pattern. He believed he was following a real person. He was oriented, rational, responsive. Whatever he saw, it made sense to him. Which raises the question, what did he see that our ears cannot hear, and our eyes cannot confirm? The search falters. By the end of day 6, search teams refused to continue deeper into the woods. Not because of danger, but because of sound. Multiple volunteers reported hearing their own names spoken from somewhere behind them. Always behind, never visible. Quiet, close, patient. Exactly like the whisper that called Evan forward. Revelation. The turning point in the case came on day 11, when a cadaver dog located something in a section of forest that had already been searched twice. It wasn't Evan. It was his backpack. Placed neatly, not dropped, not torn, not weather-worn, on a flat stone surrounded by moss. Almost arranged. Inside, everything was accounted for. First aid kit. Trail food still sealed. Water filters. Identification. And his notebook. The notebook appeared dry, intact, and recently handled. The first pages were normal. Route notes, elevation sketches, time estimates. Then the handwriting changed. The letters grew slower. Uneven. Not frightened, just careful. Like someone writing while watching something else. The entries read, Day 3 to 4:52 p.m. I thought I was alone. I'm not. Day 3 to 5:17 p.m. The woods are quiet. Like they're holding their breath. Day 4 to 9:03 a.m. I found footprints. They are mine, but reversed. Leading the direction I came from. Day 4 to 11:40 a.m. He's trying to stay just out of view. I think he wants me to follow. I think he needs me to. Day 5 to 6:33 p.m. He knows my name. The final entry was written in slow, measured strokes, as if Evan was choosing each word with precision. Final entry. He looks like me. Not exactly, but close enough that if someone saw us from a distance, they would think we were the same person. He is showing me the way. I understand now. I'm not lost. I'm being taken back. The handwriting stops midline. No sign of hesitation. No sign of fear. Just an unfinished sentence. Law enforcement response. The official explanation was cautious. No evidence of another person. No sign of struggle. No environmental hazard. No predators. No body. The report used the phrase, voluntary departure from known path. But the investigators who had walked that terrain disagreed, quietly and only off-record. One of them, whose statement was later sealed, said, the problem isn't that he left the trail. It's that the trail led somewhere it shouldn't have. The final witness. A week after the search was suspended, a retired wildlife surveyor came forward. He claimed that, on the afternoon Evan disappeared, he saw two hikers walking the ridge line above the valley. Same height. Same build. Same backpack. One walking a few paces ahead. One following. He assumed they were together. When investigators asked if he was certain, he replied, I've been tracking movement patterns in the woods for 40 years. You learn how to tell two people from one. There were two. But when asked to describe the face of the person in front, he hesitated. Not uncertain. Just unwilling. Finally he said, it looked like the second one was trying to keep up with the first. As if the first had been walking that trail much, much longer. The case today. There is no confirmed body. No further sightings. No personal belongings found beyond the backpack and phone. Hikers still report the same section of forest as unnaturally silent. Several have turned back after hearing what they describe as a voice saying their name, in their exact tone of voice. No emergency calls have been filed. No disappearances recorded there since. But those who know the case always ask the same question. If Evan was following something that looked like him, who or what was the first one? And how long had it been walking the woods? Waiting for someone who recognized it?